Hi, rare Toy Story fans. Hi, I just saw a movie. uh, you'll never guess what movie it was. Toy Story 5, and I have the receipts to prove it. No, but seriously, um, this is my little review. It's just gonna be this chill, laid back thing. Nothing too crazy. But, I'm gonna give my thoughts on it, because I wanna I wanna talk about it. What did I think about it? Well, first of all, I assume if you're here, you've already seen the movie. I'm late to the game. It's like been out for like a week or however long. It came out on the 19th, right? I just made it out now to see it. So this is gonna have spoilers in it, just so you know. Did I love this movie? That's a complicated answer. Put that on the DVD cover. It's a good movie, or maybe it's a good movie. Complicated. I don't know. So, yeah. Where do I even begin? Well, first of all, I went in there and I saw, when I was buying popcorn, I saw they had these. This might be one of the best things to come out of seeing the movie, to be honest. This is pretty neat. It's really simple, but it's a popcorn bucket of the Luxo ball. And yeah, nothing too crazy going on with it, but it does seem to be, I think, accurate size to the movie, which is awesome. So it's like, I technically now have a replica Luxo ball, even though it's, hard plastic and, flat on the bottom, and got these, which I'm not a big fan of, only in theaters. It's like, why are you advertising the movie that I, like, of course I know it's in theaters. I'm buying this at the theater, seeing the movie, so I don't know. I feel like this stuff doesn't need to really be on there, but other than that, it's pretty cool, and, yeah, it's kind of nice. It was like $37 or something like that, but it did come with, small popcorn and a drink, and, this cup, and a figure on top. I don't know how many different figures there you could have got, probably about like 5 or 6. Unfortunately, I just got Woody, which is kind of boring. He looks fine. I honestly, I don't know, kind of bootleggy. Kind of something like really dark brown paint, and I don't know. So I was hoping I wouldn't get Woody, just because it's like, well, there's a billion Woody figures out there, and at least this does have the accurate look to the movie, missing the badge and the pull string. No poncho, though. That would have really been cool. I would have liked it if it had the poncho, but I guess they didn't feel like adding that to it or whatever. I don't know. But, anyways. Oh, also, inside the Pixar ball, when you buy it, comes a badge. And I assume, I'm not positive, but you probably could have also gotten a different badge as well. Since these were both Woody, I'm assuming the badge matches whatever character you get. I briefly looked up tried to find out more about this ball before I bought it online real quick, and I think I saw they had a figurine of like Forky and Karen together, which would have been awesome. I thought that was really cool. Obviously me, I like the more rare kind of stuff, and like having like a figurine of both of them would have been a lot more interesting than just Woody. But it is what it is. But this badge is cool. Very Western, very on brand, very on theme, Got the poncho there. So I do like the badge, pin. Notice I'm still not talking about the movie, because I'm like, I'll put it this way. I'm too big of a Toy Story fan to love it, and also at the same time too big of a Toy Story fan to hate it. Again, it's a complicated answer. This felt nothing like Toy Story, okay? Yet certain parts of it, of course, did feel like well, it felt like Toy Story, but a very synthetic version of Toy Story. This felt very soulless. And I'm sorry if anyone is like upset at me for bashing a mega million billion dollar franchise. Like, it'll be okay. You know, obviously I love Toy Story, so I'm not trying to offend anyone. It's just a movie, right? But you know, and I was just listening last night to an interview from 1999 of Robin Williams and, you know, talking with George Lucas. And George Lucas made a great point. He's like, the ones who hated The Phantom Menace the most were the biggest fans of Star Wars and the critics, right? And he was saying, like, the fans that grew up with Star Wars, the original, as a kid, were expecting like the same thing or something like even like something like darker and more adult. And he was like, well, you're not a kid now, so you're not going to have that same experience as you did when you were a kid. And I think, you know, hopefully you know what I mean when I'm trying to explain that, where I'm getting at. It's like, to some extent, I think that can apply to Toy Story 5, but at the same time, like, this clearly is not the same quality as the original, or even, maybe, dare I say it, maybe not even the same quality as Toy Story 4. And I didn't think, I liked, it was a good movie for what it was. On its own, I think Toy Story 4 is a lovely movie. But as a sequel, I had some problems with it. And now this movie, I have so much frustrations with it that I think my head's gonna explode if I try to overthink it. I liked it more than Lightyear, though. But I don't even count that as a Toy Story movie. Like, that's how much I think they messed that up, that it doesn't even work as a, you know, because, like, technically it's meant to be a Toy Story movie. It's meant to be in universe what Andy watched, but clearly that wouldn't make any sense. But let's not talk about that movie. We're here about Toy Story 5, and this video, if you saw my just the trailer reaction I did, you know, back when one of the trailers, you know, the first trailer came out for this, that was like a 2-hour video. You know, the comment on there said, this is like as long as the first Toy Story movie. And it's like, yeah. For someone who doesn't necessarily like to talk, when it comes to stuff I love, it's hard to stop talking about it. And Toy Story is like my favorite movie, and I feel like they did it a disservice with this, and I understand now why people were so serious about not wanting them to make any more after 3. They're like, it was the perfect end, and they're gonna ruin it. And in some ways, I think they kind of did ruin it. I think it's overstayed its welcome at this point. Not that I wouldn't be mad if they kept making them, which they clearly are gonna just make till the end of whenever they have to end, you know, till the world ends, you know, right? Which is sooner than you think. That's okay. So, positives. Bunny was in it. I can't believe I was excited to see Ducky and Bunny return. That's a very, very minor part of the movie, so if you didn't see it, you might think, oh wow, they're like main characters. No. They don't even talk in it. I don't think they said a single word. You know, maybe like I think they like grunted or whatever, saving the peanut guy, right? But that was like their only 2 seconds in the movie, right? I don't believe they got Key and Peele, you know, to voice them again.
If I get into a different carnival game, that's more chances to get one.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. For as different as they were to add to the franchise in the 4th one, I will admit I did miss them in this one, that they really weren't in it. But it was nice to see that they were there with the gang, you know, with Woody and Bo and them. Because they weren't shown in the trailer, so I was worried. I was like, what? Did they just go off on their own already? You know, are they not a part of that anymore? But no, they're still with them, which is kind of fun. But, I have no idea how to even put this review together, like where to begin and end with all of this. So I think I'm just gonna ramble off any random thoughts I had about it, honestly. There was a lot of moments I noticed that were different in the trailer than in the movie, and some moments or lines that weren't even in the movie. But, you know, we've seen that before, you know, with other Toy Story movies even, right? where they altered a little bit. Sometimes they animate the shots slightly different just to make it look a little nicer or whatever. Because in the trailer, it looked like Woody was just returning to go help them. You know, when you see him in the windowsill. But in the movie, oh, Bo's actually there with them, which I was like, wow, that's kind of awesome. You know, cinematically, I do think the trailer shot looks a lot nicer. You know, Bo's just kind of there, just doing whatever. But I did think it was awesome that she got to catch up with her old friends. Although she didn't really seem to care. She was just like, yeah, whatever. Go do your thing, Woody. I'm out of here. I was like, I mean, I guess it kind of fits her character from the fourth movie, I guess. But even that, it feels a little weird. Like, doesn't she want to like stop and like hang out with these guys for a little bit? No, just running off for no reason. Why are you in a hurry? I don't know. So it was nice to see her back, but some of the things about her character, well, they definitely frustrated me how they changed her so much dramatically in the fourth one, and still some things in this movie that, you know, for as little as she is in this, kind of frustrating a little bit for me. Because I think Bo was a great character in the first movie, and, you know, she was good in the second one. And, you know, she didn't have much of a character, obviously, but she was still a character. She still was interesting, but they... Anyways. Now I'm just going off into Toy Story 2. Or 4, you know, and so I keep changing the subject to different Toy Story movies. How about let's talk about Mr. Potato Head? Because one of the things I was excited about somewhat was like, oh, hey, Mr. Potato Head finally can actually be a real character again. He can actually be involved in the story because there's an actual voice actor for him this time, so they can do a lot with him. They can do anything with him now. What are they going to do? And his role was barely any different than the fourth movie. And it's like, okay, you might as well have just used more archival audio at this point, you know? Because he had like just a few lines in the movie from what I remember. Some of the lines didn't sound very good. Like, it wasn't really that good of an impression. I get Don Rickles would be like a really hard impression to do, and he is capable. And I know there was just like one line that I specifically thought, oh, that actually sounds pretty close. So I don't know. It's what it is. It's fine. But again, he didn't really feel like that much of a character. Because I mean, you go back to the first movie, and he's like one of the main characters. You know, especially like in the promotional stuff, he was all over it, right? I don't know. Dang. So I was trying to understand, you know, before I saw the movie, I was like, so is Jessie truly the main character? Because clearly that's what they're going for. But the trailer does heavily feature a lot of Woody and Buzz. So I was like, how much of this really is Jessie's movie? Because that is very different than, you know, what we've seen before. It's always Woody's movie, or Woody and Buzz, like the first one. And yeah, she is the main focus. Woody and Buzz really don't get that much to do, and what they do isn't that interesting, unfortunately. I had a little higher hopes for that, you know, because in the trailer it was like, oh, they're gonna have this like back and forth dynamic, like they're kind of like angry at each other a little bit, you know, kind of fighting, kind of like the first movie. So I was excited to see where that would go, and it didn't really make that much sense why they would be mad at each other. It felt very forced. I don't know. It didn't really. It's just kind of there. Just kind of happened. You've got a friend in me, and these characters felt very out of character in this movie. There was a lot of resulting to anger and violence really quickly, did you notice that too? Like, Jessie, like, almost immediately, like, as soon as she meets the lily pad character, she just starts punching her. She accidentally punches Buzz off the bed. Like, do you guys remember in the first movie when, like, someone falling off the bed was like a big deal? Like, they would get hurt or something? Or I don't know. I mean, definitely falling out the window, they thought you would like die or something. I don't. I'm getting sidetracked here. But anyways, I was like, these guys feel so out of character. You know, I didn't expect Jesse to be like such a like a violent character. Like that didn't really make sense to me, did it? Do you think that like worked? And so it was just it felt very bizarre to watch this movie. um, the characters are very, for the most part, very flanderized, very one note. You know, like Rex, you know, gets a few lines, and most of them are about him being a dinosaur, which has been his character for a while at this point. You know, and there was some of that even in the first movie, but like, it's Toy Story 5 is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, right? The more you copy the same photo, the more fuzzy it gets, you know, the less clear it is, the less it becomes like what it originally was, you know? And part of that, I think, is just when you have so much time passes, you know, different people are now working on the movie than originally. Obviously, John Lasseter had nothing to do with it, which I I don't even know what to say about him as a person, but just as a director, it is unfortunate that he can't be involved because you can really tell that this is not at all like the same thing as what it used to be. I think my biggest issue with it, if I was gonna have one big takeaway or whatever, it's like this felt like a cartoon. Okay, it was way too silly, way too wacky. Characters, they just felt so out of character. They were just so quick to just do something weird and random or loud and annoying or just angry or overly excited, just like way too instantly. It's weird, right? And I think the problem is just the culture now is just we have no attention span, you know. Everything's just got to be now, 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 you know. Like, compare the modern SpongeBob episodes they're making now to what it started out as. It's a completely different show. Like, there's always got to be something loud and whatever crazy happening at all times. They're just got to be overly animated. And yeah, I knew I would have some problems with this movie even just from the trailer. You know, like, it looks very flat. I can't tell you how much I hate that. It's I think what's happening is that they saw the popularity of stuff like Spider-Verse and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, where they're clearly intentionally going for like a somewhat 2D art style, and so they're trying to keep up with the times and try to stay relevant. Or to me, it feels that they're not very confident. Like, that this is them worried that it's not going to be as good if they don't if they don't do what the other movies are doing that are successful, right? Like, by flat, I mean, I'm talking about, like, look at, like, the texture on Woody's face. It's just, like, this flat, like, one color, like, very pale. You compare it to previous movies, and there's so much more depth to his face. You know what I'm talking about? It's weird. Like, I'm not a fan of that at all. And I haven't even got into, like, when I'm talking about this art style stuff, I haven't even mentioned the literal turning it into a 2D thing, which can be fun, but I don't think works or belongs in a Toy Story movie. Toy Story has a set style, a clear direction that it's always gone in, and to change it now feels so jarring, like it's so out of place. I don't think, in my opinion, it doesn't really work. I get that they're trying to stay relevant, try to stay consistent, and just change with the times, and I don't think that's necessary. I'm so grateful that they didn't do that to the entire movie, because that would have just ruined it completely. Like, that would have just been bizarre, right? Like, what even is that at that point? Which, yeah, sure, I guess you can do that to Puss in Boots, where it's not consistent with the first Puss in Boots or the other Shrek movies before. And even the Shrek 5 movie completely changing its look is like, don't get me started on that. That's just, I can't stop cringing at that. It's so bizarre. I hate it. But like, can't we just have things try to look realistic? Not super photorealistic where you can't even tell if it's animated or not. But, what Toy Story was, like, it was as realistic as they could make it in 1995, so they did have to make it somewhat cartoony, but they still tried to make it realistic. And here it doesn't work. Whatever they're doing, it's like trying to be too realistic, but way too cartoony of a real. I don't know how to explain it. It's just weird. One thing that surprised me was Zurg actually appears in it. Yeah, sure, it's just the mid-credits scene, which is a pattern for Zurg. Toy Story 3, he was also in essentially what you could call the mid-credit scene. While the credits were rolling, right? He was doing the robot at Sunnyside dancing, and you just see him for a brief moment here, and it's like, wow, he's like looks super detailed. Like it's so jarring to see him like in such like high quality, I guess. But part of it's also that it's like it took a second or two for my brain to process it, but I'm like, oh, this is like a high-tech version of Zurg, which is pretty cool to see. So I kind of like that was in there. Why don't we talk about the high-tech buzzes, since we're there, talking about Zurg. Why were they even... What was the point of any of that? That was its own separate movie, and we just kept cutting back to a different movie. Like, it was barely connected to the main movie at all. It's like, what's the point? I thought they would find Woody or whoever, like, way sooner, but it's like, they took way too long to get there. It's like, this just feels like we keep stopping the movie just to go see what someone else is doing. I'm not really crazy about that. And just for what it was, looking at the Buzz stuff in isolation, it was kind of cool, but it's very frustrating, okay? Because Toy Story 4, my biggest complaint with it was that Buzz is an idiot. Why did you make Buzz so dumb? He doesn't even know that his buttons, he thinks they're, oh, it's my conscience, it's my inner voice. It's like, you're a toy. That's your whole thing that you learned in the first movie, that you're a toy. Like, don't you know how your buttons work? Like, what? It was just really dumb. Like, Buzz was so unbelievably dumb in that movie, and I was not a fan of it. So I was, based on the trailers, I was like, wow, it looks like Buzz is actually going to be much more of a... he's not going to be so dumb in this one. He actually looks like he has different emotions, like he's smart again, because he was never dumb in the first movie. The only thing that made him dumb is that he thought he was a space ranger, but once he learned that he wasn't dumb at all. Like, and I think that's the thing that Pixar doesn't understand or doesn't want or something. I don't know. And you might look at like Toy Story 2 where he's like, delicious hot schmoes. And that's kind of a dumb thing, but like they technically could have given that line to any character. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but like he wasn't really a dumb character. He was still smart and confident and all that, a good leader and whatnot. And they just dumbed him down so badly in the fourth one. So I was really excited to see the potential for what they could finally bring back to his character in this one, and they did a pretty good job. I do have some weird, like, it was kind of weird, some of the choices they made with them. I don't know, it's strange, but overall not too bad. Pretty good. But somehow, with the high-tech buzzes, somehow they made Buzz so dumb. They made the high-tech buzzes caveman level dumb. They somehow managed to make Buzz as literal dumb as they possibly could have with the high-tech ones. It's like, wow, you went a step forward with the, a couple steps with the normal Buzz, but the high-tech buzzes, you went as far back as you could. I mean, when I saw that scene when they're at the campfire and they're looking up at the stars and they're like, star, I'm like, what is going on? I thought I was gonna like I don't know. I think my mind was just shutting off. I'm just like, you cannot. This is terrible. This is stupid. Like, who's writing this? This is terrible writing. Like, what? You you have to make the toy mode Buzz as confident as, be consistent with what toy mode Buzz was in the first movie when he first, Andy first opened him, on his birthday, right? Like, he wasn't an idiot. He just thought he was a space ranger. And apparently now Buzzes are just idiots when they're first out of the package. They're like being born and they have to learn everything. It's like, isn't that what was happening? I was just I can't. I don't even know. What do you even say? Like, that was just so ridiculous. I can't. I really don't know what else to say about that. It's just it's terrible. Like, why? And I think it literally was as simple as the writers needed to find a way to get the Buzzes, give them a reason to go somewhere else. And so they're like, Star, that must mean Star Command. What? That doesn't make... I'm so mad at that. It's I gotta leave it alone, because it's too much. It's what? And it just about everything they do, for the most part, those Buzzes, it's like so frustrating, because I was so excited. I'm like, wow, we get to see like actual like Buzzes thinking, an army of Buzzes thinking they're space rangers. How exciting will that be? And they're just kind of way too over the top and cartoony, and it was just hard to care. It was kind of funny seeing them like, oh, butterflies, out in the woods. Like, I think maybe that was trying to parody, like, kind of like Snow White, like all the animals coming to them. That's kind of what it came off as for me, but I don't know. Overall, it was just frustrating. Speaking of the Buzzes, they turned into drones, and at first I'm thinking, that is so weird. You're making Buzz a drone now? I don't know. It feels a little cringy or something. I don't know. But I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, well, I mean, for trying to go for like the whole tech thing and trying to keep up with what's current and stuff, drones have been kind of popular, and kind of, I guess they're a toy, more or less. So I can see how that can make sense. It's a little hard to believe that, like, because Buzz Lightyear, he's like a kind of like he's a really hefty toy, right? Like, doesn't a drone need to be really light? So I'm not sure how powerful these drone blades are to be able to do that, if you try to think too hard about it. But once it started clicking for me, I'm thinking about it, watching it, and I'm like, whoa, they're flying. That was Buzz's whole thing, was that he couldn't fly, and now they're literally flying. And I wonder if that's like kind of jumping the shark a little bit. Like, okay, Buzz literally can fly now. It's a little bit much, but it kind of works. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, this would be the perfect moment to have a callback to Falling with Style. Are they gonna do it? And then just like a second later, Woody's like, Buzz, we're flying with style, something like that. And I thought, as it's really on the nose, but at the same time, it's like too good of a moment not to make, and that's probably might be my favorite moment from the movie. I don't think the cinematography is that amazing, because the cinematography from the first movie is one of the best things about it, and I think everything about that first movie is like perfect, right? It's like a perfect movie, right? I wouldn't, honestly, personally, wouldn't change a thing about it. Even, I wouldn't even make it look nicer, because in my opinion, that would make it look worse. I think I love the look of the early 90s. Like, it looked great for its time, and I personally still think it holds up. If you don't want it to look photorealistic, then there you go. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But like the cinematography of the moment, the first one, where you know, to infinity and beyond, you know, like they're perfectly centered in the frame, you know, this camera's not too far away, there's not too much going on, but you kind of have all of that in the shot in this moment in this movie. And like that was another thing I was thinking about when I got home just a little bit ago. I'm like, the first movie, it is extremely quotable. You can say so many quotes, you know. You've got a friend in me, to infinity and beyond. You're my favorite deputy, and it goes on and on and on. You know, you could quote just about anything, in my opinion, from that movie. Um, you know, board game, battleship. You're not turning me into a mashed potato. That was the second movie. The second movie's pretty quotable too. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, the more it goes on, I feel like the less quotable it gets. And like this movie, I'm like, I don't think there's a single quotable line from it. I like nothing that would ever go down in like movie history as like a famous movie quote for sure. Like there's nothing, you know, and I think that just shows that how far down the quality has gone down from these. It's like the script, it's not very good. Like there's nothing quotable about it, you know. I don't know. Uh, was there any memorable lines from it that it would be like a fun movie quote? I don't think so. Um, and I think that just shows just how good the first one was. You know, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but obviously the first movie will never be beat. Clearly, Hollywood is dead. There's no originality. They're just copying and making sequels and making live action movies of Moana. Like it just came out 10 years ago. The sequel just came out last year. And you're making a live action, like, I don't know. I could go on all day. Just obviously it's just a joke, but I don't know. I I don't know. I was excited to see what Woody would be doing in this movie. And again, he doesn't really, he's just kind of there. You know, he goes there to help, but he's just kind of there. Like, you know, obviously they wanted to give Jesse the spotlight, and they do, but you know, Woody doesn't, he's not super interesting in this. And I don't know. And Joan Cusack, I don't know, is she like in her 70s now? She's older now, and it's definitely noticeable, and it's noticeable for like all of them that were in the original movies, right? I think, you know, like they just sound a lot older, and it's unfortunate, but I mean that's just how it works. And like I would much rather have the original cast than recast them if at all possible, and certainly never give them AI voices, which pretty sure I saw an article recently where Tom Hanks literally was saying, just make Woody an AI voice in the next one. You don't even need me. I think he said that. Maybe he was joking. Probably not. I think he said that. Which, man, that would be awful. And the sad thing is, it would probably sound a lot more like Woody than he did in this. But I mean, he even sounded older, of course, in Toy Story 4, which was already 7 years ago, which is crazy. But I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place, but don't worry about it. One problem I had, you know, again with the characters being not themselves, it's like they're acting so incredibly childish. Like, you know, Woody's like, I'm gonna do it, and Buzz is like, no, I'm gonna go. It's like, what? You don't think I can do it? And I don't know, you know, and he's like, well, I have to do this for Jesse, and Buzz is like, no, Jesse's mine, or I don't know. It was just, it felt really dumb, and it was strange. I don't know. I didn't even know Randy. You couldn't. How would I have even known Randy Newman was involved with this if it didn't say his name in the credits? I do remember now. His name was on the poster, like, you know, really small, of course, back a while back. But you I don't know if you can really tell. I mean, the only music that I feel like really feels like Toy Story is the music that is just recycled from the previous movies, you know, which they did a lot of that in 4 also. And I mean, to some extent, I think each movie has used some music from the previous one, but I don't know. Um, I gotta say this. If if a movie, if a sequel to a beloved movie is filled with a bunch of potty humor, it just it's probably a really bad movie. And I have to say, this is, unfortunately, this is the Toy Story movie that has a bunch of potty humor in it. However, they technically can get it kind of works. Uh, it the toy itself is a potty training toy, so fair enough. But the movie still technically does have a lot of potty humor, and that just feels very lazy, very like that's the kind of humor you do when you can't think of anything clever. You just throw that in, and kids will laugh, right? But at least they do have the excuse of like, well, that is what the toy is, so it is kind of clever in that way. So it does technically get a pass. I'll say that, but still, it doesn't change that this is the Toy Story movie that has a lot of potty humor. Do that as you will, but it was unfortunate that so many of like Andy's toys, you know, they're barely in this. They barely have any lines, and again, it's not too much different from Toy Story 4. Ham had one line, maybe two. Mr. Potato Head, he had a few. I don't think Mrs. Potato Head said a single thing. Again, I might not have, I might have missed some stuff. I don't know, but it was kind of rough. If you're a fan of those characters, they didn't really have much to do, and I thought it was so odd, so funny just seeing Woody return. Like they return back to the garage, and you just still see that box sitting there with all of the toys just still there. It's like, how much time has passed? You're just still sitting here in the box exactly like that. Like, that must have been so boring. Like, you really didn't have anything to do. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought that was so odd. Like, they're just still right here. I don't know. And maybe they had to be there in case Bonnie or someone came out there. Fair enough. But that was a thing that bothered me with the movie. I know this is sounds like a bunch of complaints, and it is, but I don't know. It's fun to talk about what worked and didn't work about it. So I'm not doing this for the sake of being negative. I just think these are valid criticisms that, like, it just isn't it isn't up to quality, right? I lost my train of thought, what I was gonna say. Shoot. Hold on. It doesn't matter. I can't remember. But let's talk about, I did not have I didn't expect that much crazy stuff to happen in this movie. I was assuming it would play it very safe, very just play it forward, very predictable. And in some ways it was. But some things about the movie did surprise me. And I, for the life of me, did not have Buzz and Jessie getting married on my Toy Story 5 bingo card, okay? I'm like, did they really just do that? I mean, it doesn't really make sense because they're toys, but otherwise it's just like, they really did that. I guess. I mean, yeah, sure, they were playing around, but like, Buzz genuinely wanted to marry her, or whatever that was. Now, I somewhat had that spoiled for me ahead of time, because I was the other day scrolling through social media and saw some kind of post about, like, a Buzz and Jessie with a heart, or them kissing or something. It wasn't from the movie, it was like fan art, but I was still thinking, like, oh man, is that in the movie? And I know fan art like that's existed for a long time, on the internet, people making that. But I was like, I have a feeling that's probably going to be something with their love interest. It's probably going to be in the movie. I don't know, though, but I kind of think that might have just got spoiled a little bit, because I had no idea other than that. And, early on in the movie, Buzz is like, I want to propose to Jessie. And, he keeps going on about it throughout the whole movie. And it's like, huh, Okay. Sure, why not? I guess. And well, I'm just thinking about that now. I mean, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head are married, right? So I mean, I guess they can be married. Now, obviously, they're married just because well, that's what their toys were made to be, Mr. and Mrs. But still, um, I don't know. Um, I really love that they kind of actually did that because obviously that's been a thing, the fan fiction kind of thing of Buzz and Woody, Buzz, oh boy, Buzz and Jesse together. But to actually see it in a movie is like, wow, it doesn't feel real. It's like, wow, they really did that, and they literally kiss in the movie, like not just for pretend, but like while they're doing their whole like saving the day thing, like they actually have like a moment where they kiss. And I think they kiss later too. After the wedding play thing, right? If I remember right. Um, but it's like they really did that. Buzz and Jesse actually kiss in this movie, and I'm like, that is, I cannot comprehend that. It's so bizarre, but it's kind of awesome. So I did kind of love that. That was a nice surprise, somewhat surprise. Um, yeah, but I feel like they kind of ruined the moment a little bit because it was such a nice moment, a nice scene, and then the movie had to do, it couldn't just be confident and let that scene play as it is. It just had to interrupt it and be like, oh, Trixie shows up and, hey, Buzz, you're cheating. You're cheating on me. You've done this like 3 times. which was funny, but it ruined the moment, like completely ruined it, So it's like, can't you just let a scene play out? Imagine, again, going back, comparing this to the first Toy Story, imagine the moment they're flying with style, the most triumphant, one of the most epic moments in movie history, right? You imagine they start flying, and then like a bird hits them, and they're like, they make some kind of corny joke about it, and then the moment is just ruined. It's just like, that's a terrible way to make movies. So I feel like this movie has a lot of those kind of moments, and it just feels like they don't know what they're doing, or they're not very confident. They feel like they got to just throw in a joke every 2 seconds to keep the kids' attention, keep them off their iPads or whatever, which is the whole plot of the movie basically. Even though the premise is like tech is bad, they still keep the tech around at the end of the movie, and Jesse ends up making friends with all the tech, so it's a very muddy message. Like, what's the actual message? Are they bad or not? And maybe you could just say, well, it's your own takeaway. They're bad if you let them be bad, or depending on how much you let your kids use them or something. I don't know. It. They don't even like save the day at the end. It's just like, oh, I guess just all the kids in the world are now like brainless zombies, just all glued to their devices, all except for Bonnie and Blaze. It's just like, oh well, they're the only kids apparently that we know that aren't just mindless device zombies. It's like, that's depressing. Um, I feel like this movie needed some sort of like, Buzz, we need to save all these kids from their devices. Let's and they find out some, like, it's a movie, you can do whatever you want, right? They find some kind of way, they make a commercial somehow to find a way to get it on TV, and then all the world, they're like, oh wow, maybe tech is bad. I'm gonna make sure my kid only spends this much time on it, and then it like fixes things. You know what I mean? I feel like the movie might have needed something like that, because it really doesn't ever solve that problem, and that's kind of depressing. It's like, oh, I guess this is just how it is now. Like, there's a line that Jessie says where she's just like, oh, the age of toys is over, but I'm gonna get played with while I can, or something like that. It's like, oh, the message is just, oh, we're all useless now. It's like, Toy Story's gotten really depressing as it goes on, isn't it? They're always having to like save toys. Woody and them, they're saving toys from trees and from whatever. I don't know. There's just, I'm not trying to come off negative. I really am not. I had a good time, and I would definitely see it again. It's Toy Story. You're still gonna have a good time even if the movie's kind of terrible. I don't really need to see Lightyear again. I might have only ever seen it like once in theaters and once on Disney Plus, and I think that might be it. I don't know. I might have only seen it twice. Like, I really don't care about that movie. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else I could say about this. I gotta think about this. Not really a huge thing, but they took Woody's holster off. The high-tech Buzz is off. That took Woody's holster off, and I thought they were gonna make a joke about him not having a gun or something, and I don't think that's what they were going for. I can't remember what they said, but it was kind of wild to see that, like, oh, apparently that's removable. I mean, with each Toy Story movie, they're just like, hey, I guess this part of Woody's removable now, even though it probably was never meant to be like that before, but it's convenient for the plot, so now we can just take his badge off at any time. Apparently it's just always been removable, which doesn't really make sense, with the fourth one. I was kind of hoping Jessie would give Woody his badge back at the end of this, but no, of course not. I guess it's just hers forever now, which is kind of weird. I'm not crazy about that. Yeah, sure, it makes for a nice little moment in the last movie, but, like, Woody's just not the same without his badge, It's like, it feels, it's a weird message. It's like, oh, Jessie gets to be the sheriff, and Woody isn't that special anymore. I'm glad I thought about that, because I definitely want to talk about this. Buzz, they actually handled him pretty well in this movie. Woody, I'm kind of upset at how they treated him. Woody is no longer cool. Woody is the joke. He is always the punchline. Oh, Woody, you're bald. Oh, Woody, you're old. Oh, Woody, you have a big gut now, which doesn't... It's weird. Like, oh, Woody, you have to ride the little pony. You don't get a cool horse, like Buzz. You gotta have... It's like, this is just depressing. That's kind of one of the big reasons, one of my main reasons why I kind of hate Cars 3. I don't hate it, it's fine, but it's just, it plays it way too safe. It's just whatever. I love Cars 2, it's exciting, the first Cars is obviously the best, but Cars 2 at least is really interesting and fun and exciting, and Cars 3 is just whatever. But my big thing with Cars 3 that I hate is that Lightning McQueen, they make him a joke. They're constantly like, oh, you're so old, look how old you are. It's like, I don't come to the movies to watch my favorite characters be bullied, be made fun of, be the joke. It's like, I want them to be cool. Lightning McQueen was so cool in the first movie, in the second movie. Like, he was, you wanted to cheer for him. You were excited to see him. He was the cool one. And, Woody, he always used to be so awesome. And then, Toy Story 4, it's like, well... Bo, women have to be the cool ones. Woody, you're not as cool as Bo. She's better at everything than you. And it's just like, and now it's just like, well, this time, instead of letting Jessie have, like, one thing to do in a movie, like the fourth one, we're gonna give her, like, the whole movie. And, now she's the cool one. But it's always gotta be a female that's, like, the best character, the center of attention. Listen, it's okay to make, there's nothing wrong with making female characters, heroes and whatnot. You know what I mean? But, like, don't make the male characters a joke. Don't do that. If you want to go for some kind of equality thing, well, saying the females are better isn't equality. It's just saying, you know what I'm trying to say? And maybe you might think I'm overthinking it in that it's not about gender and all that, but if you pay attention, if you've watched enough Disney movies over the past 11 years or so, since at least The Force Awakens, with Rey being the main character, where she's just perfect and can do anything for some reason. You notice a pattern where it's just like the females are always perfect and the males are always the joke. A lot of the time, anyways. You know? And it's just kind of like it feels very forced, like they're trying to push this on you. Like, this is just how it is now. You know, you gotta. The women are superior to men. It's just it's like. Part of it maybe because like for a long time men were like the focus of Hollywood. They were like usually the main heroes and main characters, a lot of the times. And fair enough, but like if you're trying to go for equality, saying women are better isn't equality. You're just doing the same thing that you were accusing them of. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm not trying to, that's really going down a whole thing there. And I don't get me wrong, I think it was awesome to see, Jessie do so much in this. Because she really hasn't had much to do. You might have even, some people probably forgot she was even in the last one. So it was cool. But yeah, what I was gonna say if I didn't mention it was like Joan Cusack, her voice it's just very monotone. Like her line delivery is so flat most of the time. She doesn't sound excited. Oh, I want to talk to you, device. I don't know. It's just maybe it doesn't really work for a main character at this point. With how she sounds now. And I noticed when she was on the horse and she yelled "Yeehaw," that was clearly taken directly from Toy Story 2 or some kind of archival audio, because her voice sounded way younger there, right? Am I the only one who noticed that? Because that's something they've done before with Woody. When he yells, when he does screams, they love to reuse audio from the first movie. It's probably just way easier on his vocal cords, and maybe he can't even really reach that kind of scream anymore. But every movie reuses the exact same audio recording of Woody's scream. I think it's in Toy Story 4. It's when he's falling out of the RV. I forget. I think in the second one, it's when he's waking up from the nightmare. And the first movie, it originated from when he's meeting Buzz on the bed, right? And the third one, it's when the symbol monkey, when he's getting attacked by that, I think. I don't think they used that audio, him screaming in this movie, but they also didn't give Woody that much to do in this movie either. Of course, the logo, Toy Story 5, it had to have the clouds in the background again, because I guess you just can't have a Toy Story movie without throwing the clouds in there. It's like, I guess, but it just comes across as like, oh, we don't really have anything else. It's just more of the same, I guess. And anytime they do add new stuff to this, it's kind of terrible, so there isn't really any winning, I guess. I did think it looked kind of cool when it first started showing the logo, when it showed the stars. That was a little different. But even that we've seen with Toy Story 2 in the stars, so maybe it was an homage to both of those looks. So, I mean, it's fine, but it's just kind of like, oh, well, we've done this before. It's not it's not much new. Bullseye talks in this, in a dream play sequence, which I knew ahead of time because I saw an article about it, which I was trying to avoid learning as much as I could about this movie ahead of time because, I want it to be new and fresh, to be surprised when I see it and not know everything ahead of time, which kind of ruins the movie in some way when you do that. And I used to do that all the time with movies, but I stopped watching trailers mostly. It's like I had to watch at least some trailers, some stuff for Toy Story 5. It's like, it's exciting. But anyways, so Alan Cumming voices Bullseye, and he's talking, and it's interesting. But what I think is so cool about that, and I have no idea if this was at all intentional, if this was why they did it, or it's just a coincidence, but if you didn't know, when they were making Toy Story 2, originally Bullseye was gonna talk. So it feels like a cool nod to that, or just a fun coincidence, if not. But yeah, I was really thinking, really hoping they were gonna do more with the toys versus tech premise, like some kind of big climax, some kind of big fight. But I had a feeling this would happen. That, oh, Lily Pad's not bad, but they didn't even try to go for like oh, she's just misunderstood. They didn't even really do anything with. She didn't really change. She's just kind of like, oh well, oh I just feel bad now. I guess I'm gonna go donate myself or something. It's like, I don't know. It was kind of funny seeing Lily Pad jump into the donation box. It's like, you don't have legs. How are you doing that? You're just like, whoop. Just start floating now. It's like, sure. But I don't know. It's it's so frustrating. And Woody is so beat up. Again, like, going back to that, it's like, poor Woody, like, he's barely hanging on. I mean, he's missing his voice box pull string. He can't be played with in that way anymore. He's missing his badge. He's, he's had the tear seam in his arm for all that time, and he's got a bald spot, and it's just like, he's in rough shape, man. Give this guy a break, and did they give him his holster back, or is that gone now too? I don't know. They probably put it back on. But it's just like, what are you, some old man doll? She's calling you old because you're bald, Woody. It's like, I don't come to see Toy Story to see Woody be bullied. Like, this is just sad. I came here to have fun. This is just depressing. And sure, it is clever. He has a bald spot because it's plastic. A real Woody doll can get bald there because the paint can rub off. And we even see that in Toy Story 2 when Jerry's, fixing him up. There is a little bit of a bald spot that he paints over. So it's like, technically, if, they keep making these movies, if we're here for that, they could just send Woody to the cleaners and have him all fixed up. But, I mean, I don't know. How do they find a new voice box for him? And I don't know. I thought maybe Al was going to be in this movie because I saw a YouTube thumbnail. I didn't want to see it, but, it's just how the internet works. Sometimes you just see things you didn't ask for, right? Just the thumbnails and whatnot. But it said Al is back, and so I thought, oh, is Al going to be in this movie? Like, that's interesting. What are they going to do with that? And he's not. But I believe Lilypad, if I saw that right, you could just see like the blur logo of Al's Toy Barn go by on the screen real quick as like an app. I guess that's an app in this in Toy Story now, which is neat, I guess. RC. The other day, I saw a Facebook post randomly of someone, they're like, hey, I just saw Toy Story 5, and like they had a picture of the screen where they showed the credits where they showed Forky riding RC, like a cartoony design of it, but I was like, well, dang, I got that spoiled now. RC's in the movie, isn't he? I mean, surely they wouldn't just put Forky riding RC in the credits without any context, without RC actually being in the movie, so he must be in it, right? And sure enough, I watched the movie, and it's like, oh, no, RC wasn't in it. They really did put that in there just because it looked fun, but it makes no sense within the context of the movie. So it is kind of weird. It's cool to see RC in there, even though he's not actually in the movie, I guess. Kind of the same problem with Mr. Spell showing up in Forky Ask a Question. It's like, why is he here? Bonnie never got him, but maybe you could argue she somehow got a different Mr. Spell or something, or don't overthink it, I guess. But it was awesome to see Mr. Spell return for that when they did that. But yeah. I gotta rate the Toy Story movies. Obviously, Toy Story 1's the best. That will never change. It's a perfect, flawless movie, no notes. All the other Toy Story movies have maybe a few notes, maybe, and some of them, like Toy Story 5, it's a lot of notes. Again, I still had fun, but it's kind of terrible as a Toy Story sequel, as a Toy Story movie. It it's got a lot of problems. Even on its own, as its own thing, I still think it doesn't really work all that well. And even the idea, the premise of them being tech versus toys is kind of obvious cliche or some kind of like an easy go-to idea for a movie. So it doesn't feel very inventive, very creative. The whole Toy Story as a franchise, the first movie, again, like that's like super creative, super inventive. It's like, what do toys do when kids aren't around? It's so relatable. It's so brilliant. In this one, it's just like people have been coming up with this idea, this premise, saying Pixar should make a movie like this since like Toy Story 3 came out, I think. Since tech has kind of taken over, which has been a long time, so it's not even like super relevant to now. I mean, it's still relevant, but it's nothing new. It's not like a new thing that tech's now just taking over toys. It's been like that for quite a while. And I was thinking about how like Toy Story used to kind of come out the year that it actually it used to take place in the year it actually came out. Like it's safe to say the first movie takes place in 1995, and then it's not hard to argue that Toy Story 2 might take place in 99. It definitely has some sort of gap of time because Andy is a little bit older. I'm not really sure how much older, but it is a pretty accurate how they did that. It was kind of cool. In Toy Story 3, realistically, Andy probably should have graduated or went to college in 2007, but the movie came out in 2010, but still close enough. And then Toy Story 4 happens, and Bonnie didn't age a day. Barely, if at all. She's like the same exact age. No time has passed. So that was one of the frustrating things with that. It's like we were doing so good about like keeping some sort of consistent time gaps between each movie, and then that one it's just like, no, it's just the same, which is kind of lame. So that's one of the highlights about this movie is that they actually were confident enough to actually let's age her up a little bit. So I did like that about it. It's a little weird seeing a slightly older Bonnie, but it did work. It was pretty cool. It was a little depressing seeing all the kids just be so cruel to her just for liking toys. It's like the movie felt like it was forcing that, like they were being unrealistically like way too cruel, just to make the movie make you feel bad for Bonnie. And it's like it feels a little too forced, and like them looking through all the windows of all the kids, and you could see like this huge glowing light through each window. It's like felt like really unrealistic. It's like, why are they like so bright? Like you can see through everyone's houses. It's just like, I don't know. I was thinking because I thought for sure, in the trailer we saw the other kids have 3 other unique devices, 3 other lily pads or whatever. I thought for sure those were going to be like part of Lily Pad's crew or whatever, and they were going to gang up on her on the toys or whatever to like try to win or whatever. And it's like they didn't do anything with those other tablets. They didn't serve any purpose other than just the kids had them, which fair enough, but I thought it was like a missed potential to do something a little more interesting with it. And I thought maybe Smarty Pants and the other toys from her house, Blaze's, I thought maybe there was going to be some like more conflict. There really wasn't much conflict there between her and Jessie. Some, but not really. It was just she was just kind of mildly angry at them a little. I don't know. It didn't really feel like much of an exciting like battle, between tech and toys. It's like, okay. But again, we can't have bad guys anymore. I think I mentioned that, right? Just like everything has got to be, females got to be perfect or whatever, and got to be the focus now, and we also can't have really true bad guys anymore. I mean, Disney was like founded on movies where there was like a clear bad guy. I mean, Maleficent, and even again, this wasn't even that modern technically. 2014, I think they came out with the live action Maleficent movie, and it's like, oh, she's not really bad. She's just misunderstood. She's actually kind of good, and it's like, this is sending a bad message to kids. That's one of the biggest problems with the whole. It's way too unclear, way too confusing about what a bad guy really is in modern movies, especially Disney movies, because they're kind of making it sound like, oh, it's okay to be a bad guy. I mean, literally, this is Sony, not Disney, and it's not a kids movie, but Venom: The Last Dance. That's what that's called, right? Yeah. They had this line where all the Venom people, they're like fighting, and they're like, we're the good guys, It's like, what is this? All bad guys are now the good guys in movies anymore. It's like, and like look at Toy Story 1. Sid is a clear villain. Sure, you can make the defense that, well, he's just a kid, kids rip apart their toys, he didn't know they were alive, and that's fair enough, but he still is like a huge jerk to his sister and takes things from her and like damages her stuff and stuff, so he is pretty awful, so I would still call him a villain. And Toy Story 2, you have, who do you want to call the villain in that? I guess Big Al. He's Al McWiggin, and at the end of the day, he is just like a toy collector and whatnot, but he still has villainistic traits. He is still willing to break into the money box at the yard sale, and like steal a doll from a child, and Toy Story 3, well, also the Prospector, of course, like, is a clear villain. He doesn't, oh, I'm just misunderstood and they're all friends in the end. No, he actually gets like one of those bad guy, it ends with the bad guy losing, like a defeat kind of thing at the end, where the Prospector goes in, the Barbie backpack, and Al, he's like, oh, my business is going out, or whatever happened there, couple box. And like Sid, again, like his thing was like the toys terrorized him and he ran off screaming, which is traumatizing thinking about it. But and then Toy Story 3, even that, they didn't let Lotso off the hook. No, he was a clear villain, which they need to bring that back. Like, you need to make things clear, not fuzzy. It's just terrible writing, terrible movie making when you don't even know who the heroes and villains truly are, who's really good and who's bad. Like, that's no fun, Like, the whole premise of, like, what made movies so exciting, action movies, when they were first, like, so early, like, westerns, There was a clear hero and a clear villain, Star Wars, Luke is a clear hero, Darth Vader is a clear villain, and sure, it gets more involved with that depending on which movie, where Darth Vader gets redeemed and whatnot, but still, I know I'm rambling a lot, so if you don't want to be here, that's okay. You don't need to watch the whole video, but this is just here if anyone wants to. I'm having fun talking about it, but then Toy Story 4 comes along, and that movie just changed so much about what Toy Story was. It took away so many of the reoccurring themes, and so who's the villain of Toy Story 4? Well, at first it's Gabby and the Bensons. They're being antagonistic. They're being villainous. I mean, she literally takes Woody's voice box from him, and he never gets it back. I mean, he gives it to her, but she kind of makes him, right? Pretty much, almost in a way. But I don't know. But then at the end, Toy Story 4, Gabby, oh, she's not really a villain. She's just sad because Harmony didn't want her. Let's give her to a kid, and everything's cool now. And it's like, I, it's not that you can't do that in movies, that you can't redeem someone who started off as bad. I think that's a wonderful thing, redemption. I mean, that's, I know you're here for Toy Story, but, I love God, I love the Bible, and, from a biblical perspective, right, redemption is the whole point of, like, all of this. We are sinners, all of us are really bad, none of us are born, we're all born with sin, we're all deserving of hell, right? And that's why Jesus came here. He's the only sinless man to ever walk here. He's both fully man and fully God, and only he could sacrifice him and shed his perfect sinless blood on the cross for our sins. And if we, just by accepting that and believing that, we can be saved. That's what saves us. It's that simple. Sorry if you don't like preaching, just I gotta say it. It's so important to me, right? There's nothing more important. But the point is, what I was getting at is, that's what the whole point of us. We need redemption. We're all bad. We all need to be good, and we're only made good by accepting him. He makes us good. When we accept him, the Holy Spirit comes in us, and we desire to be good, because we do become good. We're not perfect, we're not technically sinless, but our sin is paid for, and we now hate sin. We don't want to be a part of it, whatever God calls bad, if that makes sense. But redemption, it is important. I do think it's a beautiful thing when movies do redeem someone who's bad, because, I mean, again, that's a great thing in real life, when you become good by accepting Jesus' goodness, because only he is good. But still, from just a movie making perspective, it's just very anticlimactic, not very cinematic, not very exciting when you don't just keep the villain a villain. And it's not that you can't do that sometimes, but that's the only thing they do now. They've been doing that for over 10 years. There's never any actual villains anymore in Disney movies, or maybe even a lot of even other movies. But like, they're not actually bad. They're just misunderstood, or it's just very muddy, very messy. And Toy Story 5, they didn't even try. they didn't even put as much effort as Gabby, where she at least was bad at the start, seemingly, or whatever, but she was good-ish or good at the end. They didn't even bother with that. There was no clear message of the heart of Lily Pad. It's just, hey, I'm a tech, so I'm gonna do the tech thing, and don't stop me. And then she feels bad because Bonnie feels bad, so then she tries donating herself. And it's it's like, I don't, then they're just friends at the end. It's like, okay, it's kind of lame. Like, I guess we'll never get another movie like that where, not another Toy Story movie where Sid gets his comeuppance, or the Stinky Pete or Al, or Lotso, where he's going away on the dump truck, garbage truck. It's like, oh well, no. Instead of that, Gabby gets to find a new owner, and everything's all fine, and everyone wins, and and Lily Pads just gets to stay with them, and everyone wins. It's like, okay, it's not very exciting. It's kind of lame. It's as safe as you can possibly make it. That's the problem. One of the problems, at least. They're making these movies as cookie cutter as they can. This is as safe as it gets. It's like, that's so boring. This is kind of lame. what made one of my favorite things about the first movie is that, well, watch the trailer and watch how incredibly epic they make it sound. They're making this like a survival, almost like a survival horror kind of movie where it's like everyone's out to get them, like everything in the real world like is gonna kill them if they're like not like super careful, you know, like, oh, the big truck at the gas station's almost gonna crush Woody's head, and you know, Buzz and Woody are under the truck like fighting and punching, and you know, they're being chased by this vicious dog, you know, owned by Sid, you know, Scud. And you compare that to this movie, and like there is this brief moment where there is a real dog chasing them, and it's just like I don't feel any tension. I don't care. It's just like, oh, look, there's a dog chasing them. Cool. I just kind of don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's very dumbed down. This is Toy Story for babies, and you could argue that babies also enjoy the first movie, so there's no need to dumb it down. You know, it doesn't need dumbed down. It's just lazy and unoriginal, right? You know, like look at if you saw they're coming out with a Cars show next year for Disney Junior. And understandable that they would make it really simplified, really kiddish for a little kids show. But you could argue that that same demographic is already watching the regular Cars movies, so there really isn't what difference does it make if you make them kidified or not, if the same kids, same audiences still watch that, you know? It's like not necessary, you know? It just feels like it doesn't trust its audience, that it needs to pander, like it needs to appeal to the kids at every single frame, every single second of the movie. Something's got to be happening, and it's got to be bright and colorful. And you know, like in the trailer, the moment of Jesse and Woody talking on the walkie-talkies, it felt like it would be a nice serious moment in the movie. And then when you actually watch the movie, oh, it turns out that there's all this distracting noise just right there behind Woody. Like there's a screaming peanut guy, and Bo's like trying to get him to sleep, and Woody was trying to get him to sleep, and it's just I don't, you know, it just, the movie doesn't feel confident. It's trying too hard, and it's just kind of ruining it. You know, again, I'm so sorry if you think, you know, this comes off as just me being like super negative. I'm just explaining, because it's like I do love Toy Story, and I enjoy talking about what doesn't, again, you know, I said this, but what doesn't work about it. And I mean, I could go on and go over like the whole movie basically, and I think I covered pretty much a good amount of it anyways. Bo's still, they've still got their little skunk car, and thinking about if they could have found a way to put RC in the movie, how much cooler would it have been if their ride was RC and Bo and Woody, they just always traveled around on RC instead of the dumb skunk thing? How much more interesting and fun would that be, you know, and feel a lot more Toy Story, you know? And because who doesn't love RC? RC's it's an amazing character design. It's so fun, and yeah, like I don't think it's an accident they threw him in the credits, because it didn't even make any sense. There was no context, but it's like, well, RC's just fun to look at, you know, he's a fun character. But maybe, I wonder if RC was originally intended to be in the movie and it just kind of stayed in the credits. Probably not, but I don't know. That's right. Earlier I was ranking each movie, and honestly, I think it's as simple as they get worse with each one. Not to say that most of them aren't bad, but, well, Lightyear, if you're counting Lightyear as a Toy Story movie, then that's the worst one. But as far as the 5 movies go, I think they get worse with each one. Toy Story 3 is amazing, so that might be better than the second one. But, and I do even love the 4th one, and I did like a lot of different elements to Toy Story 5, but just as a whole, it was kind of messy, kind of clunky, kind of felt just a little too, they're just doing things. Like things are just happening. It's like, okay, now we're at a barn, and I don't know, the emotional, the emotional elements, the emotional moments with Jesse, they do tug at your heartstrings a little bit. They do get you there, and it does kind of work. For some people, it probably worked better. I did hear from people, someone who did see it, a friend, that saw it before the movie. They did say it was like really makes you emotional. It is really sad, and yeah, it does hit those moments. And seeing Jesse's name etched in the tree, and Jesse's like, I didn't write that, and then she finds the lunchbox, which is a little like, how did you find that? Like, how? That's really not really that buried, that you can find it that easily. But sure, it is so kind of surreal, so wild to see her, like, Jesse interacting with like a real horse. It's like seeing Bullseye, a toy horse riding a horse. It's so such a wild visual, but it's fun. It's so wild seeing Jesse being like a cowgirl, for real, technically. But I did want to say this does feel like a very fan fiction-y movie. But first, I got to finish my other thought. She finds the picture in there, and she's like something about her daughter Jessie, and Jesse's like, she named her daughter after me, and it's like this huge moment, and it's like, sure, she cared about this doll that much that she named her daughter. I sure, why not? It feels a little hard to believe, a little much, a little on the nose, but it is a sweet moment, and it does get you a little bit, and yeah, it does make you want to be a little teary. I don't know if I quite got there, but I was getting a little close. It's not, but this movie feels like fan fiction. Okay, even just from the very opening, it's just like you see all of these crashed ships, the buzz boxes, the recalled ones, and it just feels like such a fan fiction kind of idea. Like, you just ask a kid, like, oh, what do you want to make your own Toy Story movie? Oh, there's a bunch of these well, not recalled, but like a bunch of these abandoned Buzz toys. There's just a huge army of Buzzes, and they're just all running around doing shenanigans. It's like, and oh, Buzz and Woody, or again, not Buzz and Woody, Buzz and Jesse get married, and the Bonnie has an iPad, and they're fighting, they're punching the iPad, and it just doesn't feel very clever. It feels like fan fiction, not professional writing by professional script writers. It's just them felt like they were sitting around the table, and they're like, what would the fans want to see? How they loved Buzz, they loved Space Ranger Buzz. What if we just had 50 of them, just a lot of Buzzes? Sure, because more always equals better. I don't know. Again, having a bunch of Buzzes was an awesome idea, and it was pretty fun, but I wish they would have acted more like Buzz instead of cavemen. They were just being complete idiots. It didn't make any sense, which was so incredibly frustrating. I was like, they even messed that up. It was right there. Just make him like Buzz. And it was also kind of weird that they were like this, almost like this hive mind kind of thing, where they would like say the exact phrase, like the exact word all together. It's like, I don't know. It was a little weird, but yeah. So in some ways, the fan fiction makes it some moments better, and some make it worse. There was Dave Filoni made The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I heard complaints from people saying that, well, they think that putting a huge Star Wars fan in charge of a Star Wars movie is the perfect thing that it needs. And some people think that actually that's probably a bad idea, because it's just going to be fan fiction. It's just going to be throwing whatever he wants on there. Let me just take all these random characters from the Clone Wars show and throw them on there. And if you actually hire a director who's not super familiar with Star Wars, he could actually make something a lot more interesting, unique, and new, and not just the same old characters and stuff. And I think that's a good point. So just to say, this movie did feel a lot like just fan fiction, just doing whatever. And going to the art style change for the dream sequences, not that that isn't fun, but I don't like how it's not consistent with the other movies. When you see anyone else playing with toys, they still look like toys. You know, yeah, in like, the beginning of Toy Story 3, yeah, they're in the Wild West, but they still look like themselves. They still look like toys. They're not animated differently. So, just for the sake of consistency, I don't like that they would change it just randomly in this movie just to fit with how other movies are looking now. It just feels like they're afraid to stay what they were. They can't be confident and keep the same consistent look. Consistency is extremely important with something like this, in my opinion. Like, if you're just changing it up all the time, it's just a mess, and it just, like, look at Marvel and how, hey, let's make Sam Wilson Captain America now. It's like, sure, Sam's fine. He's good enough as Cap, but like clearly Steve is the Captain America. Like, you can change it, go do all these different things, but at the end of the day, it's just a lesser version of what it could have been if you would have kept what was. And again, you don't always want to just keep doing the same things, but if you make it too different, then why even bother? Because it's not even, like, again, this feels like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. Like I'm sure you could easily put just any random scene from this movie, a little clip, and then put it next to the first one and be like, this doesn't even feel like the same franchise. Not really. I mean, sure, they have the same voice actors, the ones who are still alive anyways. They have the same designs, except now they look a lot flatter and less three-dimensional, and they're a lot more animated and cartoony now. They're always got to be running really quick and making these cartoony poses, and I don't know. I know I'm talking so much about this, and I feel like I'm gonna stop recording and then be like, oh, I should have mentioned that. I forgot, but it's fine. I did get the pizza. What was it? Papa John's Toy Story 5 pizzas. They're just regular pizzas, basically, with Toy Story on the boxes. I did get all three of them, except they gave me the same Jessie box for all three, which, is fine. And since there was grease on them, I didn't keep them. And I should have asked them if I could have kept a box, a clean one, but I didn't. I was like, kind of being like, I don't know if I want to ask them. I did do that before years ago. I do still actually have some pizza boxes from like Domino's from like Marvel movies, but they take up so much space, and that's a big part of why I'm like, you know what, as cool as it would be to have, I don't have the room for it anyways. Some things just need to stay disposable. I don't need to save all these pop cans with characters on them and all this different stuff. Speaking of which, I went to KFC afterwards because they're doing a Supergirl promotion. Haven't seen the movie yet. I know it just came out. I don't even know if I'll like it. But I was like, I love tie-in promotional stuff like this. And I hardly ever have a chance to go to KFC, but I just happened to be near one today when I went to see the movie. And there was an ad actually before the movie promoting this for KFC. And so I wanted to go there, and they had these like little figures, bag clips or whatever of characters that you could get with a certain meal. And so I ordered that on the app, and turns out that the option that actually includes the figures wasn't on the app, so I didn't get the figures. But I got this box that I'm gonna throw away. I know, I'm really rambling on now. Oh my gosh. I also didn't get enough sleep last night, so okay, I better start wrapping this up. I don't know if anyone's still watching this video at this point, and that's perfectly understandable. But if you have, thank you. Let me know in the comments if you actually watched this whole thing, listen to me ramble on, because I'm just curious. I don't know if anyone, you know, I know these videos on YouTube, like videos like this, they're not really likely to get many views, which is fine. But let me know if you watch this whole thing. You know, maybe say something like, "You're my favorite deputy." Say that. I don't know. Say your favorite. How about this? Post your favorite Toy Story quote in the comments, if you want to. But anyways, before I go, I know you're probably like, he still has more to say. Feel free to follow me on TikTok. I do Christian content. If you have any interest in that, because I used to always, every day I was constantly posting Toy Story stuff, you know, on Instagram, Rare Toy Story, and then I like truly got to know God, Jesus, like way closer, you know, back in like 2021, 22, and ever since then, like, he's my love, and I put him above Toy Story now, which I was making Toy Story an idol, and that's why I had to step away from it, because I'm like, this is too much. I need to really focus on God, because I really wasn't reading my Bible or praying or anything. I didn't really know him that well, and now I know him so incredibly well. It's amazing. It's exciting. But anyways, my TikTok is DJ Curb, DJAYCRB, and that's where I'm posting every day, talking about God all the time instead of Toy Story all the time. Which I know, if you're not a Christian, you might be like, no, go back to Toy Story. That's what I like. And it's like, well, I like God. That's what I like. You know, my art changed. He changed me. So that's what I'm gonna talk about. But I'm still here once in a while, you know, when I feel like it, or when it's relevant. Like, I just saw Toy Story 5 today. I wanted to talk about it, so I'm making a video. So you will get still some stuff like this. But I want to tell you what the gospel is, how to be saved. I know I did talk about it earlier, but this is the clearest it gets, I would say. It does talk about it in many places in the Bible, but this is probably the best verses for how to be saved. And it is really simple, so simple that even a child can understand. And it's free. It's for anyone if you want it. Not forcing you. God will never force you into heaven. But I don't know why you would say no, why you wouldn't want it. But again, I'm not here to say, oh, you have to do this. It's like, no, it's completely up to you. You don't have to. It's just, there is no better option. Why would you say no to a perfect eternal paradise in heaven with God? God doesn't send people to hell. We go to hell by default because we're sinners. We need our sin paid for, and we get it paid for by accepting Jesus' payment on the cross. You know, his blood paid for us. All we have to do is accept it just by believing it. That's it. It's as simple as it could possibly be, so no one has any excuse that God wasn't fair. It's like, he didn't say no to you. You said no to him. It's all you have to do is just believe it. You know, and not just like oh, sure, I think it's probably real. That's not really believing it. It's that you know it's true. But Jeremiah 29:13 is amazing. It's so beautiful. My favorite verse in the whole Bible, because it is God's promise to us that anyone who wants to be saved will be saved if they seek him with their whole heart. It's really that simple. But anyways, 1 Corinthians 15:1-4. Let me now remind you, dear brothers and sisters, of the good news I preached to you before. You welcomed it then, and you still stand firm in it. It is this good news that saves you, if you continue to believe the message I told you, unless, of course, you believed something that was never true in the first place. I passed on to you what was most important and what had also been passed on to me. Christ died for our sins, just as the scriptures said. He was buried, and he was raised from the dead on the third day, just as the scriptures said. That is the simple gospel that saves you. And again, I'm sorry if you don't like preaching, but this is where my heart is. It truly is. I care about you deeply. I love you. I don't have to know you to care about you this much. I really, I can't explain it. It's just something that God does. I wasn't like this before. This wasn't who I was. I was so, like, sure, I cared about people, but I didn't do stuff like this. I didn't care in that sense. I was just like, well, you know, whatever. It is what it is, you know. But, like, if you care about your child and he's on the road and there's a truck coming, you better tell him to get out of the way. If you don't, you must really hate him. This is as loving as it gets. And the Bible says that we are all standing in front of that moving truck. God is saying, move. Please move. I don't want to see you die. God says, John 3:16 through 21, he says that he wishes that no one should perish, but for everyone to have eternal life. But not everyone accepts it. I care deeply, and one of my big focuses on the Bible is the end times, the rapture, and it is imminent. Soon, in the twinkling of an eye, all who are born again, who are actually genuinely saved, who put their faith in Jesus alone, not their works, not Jesus plus some other religion, just Jesus alone. Anyone who's actually saved, we're about to be taken up to him and will be with him forever. And then the tribulation will come, and it will last 7 years. And it will be hell on earth, and they're going to put out a mark in your right hand or forehead that you cannot buy or sell without. And if you don't take it, you can't buy or sell. You won't have any food. You might starve to death. But if you do take it, the Bible says you will go to hell. Like, whatever it does, it's going to cause you to not be able to be saved at that point. And you know, I'm just saying this not to scare you, but to prepare you if you don't get saved now. It's just so you know what's going on then, that you can still be saved during that time, but you will have to endure till the end to be saved at that point. You may get your head cut off because Christianity, following Jesus, will become illegal. You will be hated by pretty much everyone. Everyone's going to come after you. You probably won't survive it. And I know you're like, whoa, this isn't Toy Story. What is happening? What are you talking about? This is as dark as it gets. And it's like, I know. I don't love to say that if it wasn't as urgent and important and timely as it is. It's like, I wouldn't say it if I didn't have to, but it's so incredibly important to know that. But just believe in God. He will save you. Cry out to him. Start praying. Just say, God, please forgive me of my sins. Jesus, I accept that you died for me on the cross. I believe that. Please come into my life. Please reveal yourself to me. I want to know you. You know, just pray something like that from your heart. You know, get a Bible. Mine is NLT. I think it's easier to understand. This is a 1-year Bible, so you can read the whole Bible in a year. But, you know, you might like the KJV. It's a little harder to read NKJV, but supposedly they are more accurate. Not that the Bible has any flaws, right? But some are translated arguably maybe a little better than others. But, yeah. I mean, the Bible literally told us what would happen in the last days. Thousands of years ago, it told us this. And up until like these last just few years, no one had any idea how the mark of the beast could even be possible. Like, back when I was a kid, I know they were speculating, oh, maybe it has something to do with barcodes. And they were kind of on the right track, but, like, we had no idea what Neuralink could ever be. Like, that sounded so science fiction, something like that. And now it's literally here. The technology is here for that. And, you know, it says, he who has wisdom, let him calculate the number of the beast. It is the number of a man, 666. And so somehow 666 is going to be, if you calculate something, it'll be involved in the mark, or the Antichrist or something. Again, if you don't know God, maybe you've never even heard about this stuff before, and this is probably like all like way too much for you, and I'm so sorry if I'm overloading you with this. But we are seriously so out of time. We're so close. You know, this is where my heart is. This is what I focus on when I'm, you know, I do a lot of videos about the gospel, but my main focus, I would say, is talking about Jesus rescuing us, because biblically speaking, everything that he said the world would be like. The Bible told us this thousands of years ago, and now the world is actually exactly like what it said it would be like. It's like, you can't make that up. It's exact. You know, people say, oh, there's inconsistencies, the Bible's flawed, oh, it's not true, it's a fairy tale. If it was a fairy tale, it wouldn't have been able to predict with 100% accuracy what the world is like. It said Israel would become a nation, become a nation in one day. It would be reborn in one day. On May 14th, 1948, it became a nation after being dead for 2,000 years. That should be impossible. No other nation has ever done anything close to that. All the traditions, ancient traditions and languages and everything, just all came back in a day. That's impossible, but it happened, you know? And we don't need to, you know, I know Israel, it's a real controversial thing. So, you know, we don't need to focus on that if you're not comfortable with that. So, but just know that the Bible also told us that exact thing would happen, that the world would hate Israel in the very last days, that the whole world's eyes would be on Israel's in the very last day. That's literally, everyone is focused on them right now. You know how small they are? They are the size, Israel is the size of New Jersey. They are tiny, but everyone is focused on them. Why? That shouldn't make any sense. Why care? It's all spiritual, right? Again, I'm so sorry if this is way too much for you, if this is like, I don't even know, man. I just came here for silly cowboy dolls. And again, I don't know how many people, if anyone's even still watching this at this point, but I thank you if you did. And if you want to be saved, if you want to know more, if you have questions, please feel free to ask me. You could, if you wanted, you could message me on TikTok. If you put a comment on here, I might see it. I'm just, that's the thing, right? Like, if you don't believe now, will you please at least wait? I think it will happen. I'm almost sure that the rapture will happen this year. If it happens, if all Christians are suddenly removed from the earth, will you please at least then consider it, or just seek Jesus then? It will cost you your life, but at least you'll still go to heaven. And that's all that matters, because our time here on earth is a grain of sand in the sea of eternity. Nothing else matters, other than God, you know, and everything else is so temporary. It's not gonna last, you know. This Toy Story stuff, it's fun and all, but it's so incredibly temporary. It really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, you know. And that's hard. That takes a lot for me to say, as someone who spent years constantly obsessing over Toy Story, posting nonstop every day for years. You know, I started my account on Instagram right after I saw Toy Story 4 in theaters, and I posted every day for like 4 years. Pretty much, you know, it was a lot, and it was just way too much. I got overwhelmed by it, and you know, I posted the one day when Israel was attacked on October 7th, 2023. I made a post about Hebrew Toy Story merchandise, and I was talking about Israel in my post because that's where my heart is. Because biblically, there's so much about Israel biblically, and I got so attacked by it. I had to delete some comments, and then people were upset at me, attacking me for deleting comments, and they were harassing me so bad, and they were saying, well, I'm not even gonna repeat what they said. I was traumatized by that. I was not prepared for that at all. I probably picked like the most controversial, most triggering thing I possibly could have, and I didn't realize that at the time. And I quit. I left Rare Toy Story for nearly an entire year, and then I finally came back and just started posting every few months, and that's how it's been since then. Like, it really deeply hurt me. Like, I felt so awful. I was like, these people that were supporting me and praising me and being like, oh, keep up the good work, oh, I love your stuff, these exact same people turned on me so instantly. They were monsters. Okay, I was devastated. I was like, you can't trust people. They do not actually care about you for a second. The moment you say something they don't like, the moment they think you're doing something wrong just because you support something that the Bible says to support, and I'm not saying support Israel's government, they're awful. It's the nation itself that's God's. Jesus is coming back to Mount Zion and Jerusalem when he returns. It's a whole thing. It's complex. There's layers to it, right? But I know. My mom passed away in January, and we're about to have a concert event, this free event here in town. I have it advertised on my TikTok, but I'm going to be rapping there. You know, it's gonna be going on all day. We're gonna have different people singing and giving testimonies. And I feel like I'm called to preach a little bit there. I don't know how long or what I'm gonna say exactly, but I think God's gonna give me the words, and I think it's gonna help someone. When my mom passed, when we had her service, the church was packed because so many people cared about her, and I kept it short, but I did say, I did plan on saying this huge long thing, but we didn't have the time for that. But I kept it brief, and I told people, like, tomorrow is not promised, and now my mom knows that more than any one of us here. And so that's the thing, right? Regardless of if the rapture happens, in our lifetimes, tomorrow isn't promised regardless. Any of us could go unexpectedly at any time, because we went to bed that night having no idea that there was anything wrong with my mom. I woke up, my dad said, hey, she hasn't woken up. She's normally up like hours, would have been up hours ago. And it's like garbage day. She's always up to make sure the garbage is out. Like, something doesn't feel right. I don't think she's okay. I don't know. But I'm going to let her sleep in because she needed sleep. She's always been saying, lately that, oh, she's so tired, she wants to sleep in. So I'm going to let her sleep in. And then I was like, well, I guess, I don't know, but I'm just going to trust everything's okay. So I went and got in the shower. And then my dad started pounding on the door, and he said she's not breathing. And it turns out she had been dead for hours. So this is a roller coaster. This is a roller coaster of a video. I am so sorry, guys. This is a crazy one. Again, it's so hard to know how to put any of this stuff in there for a video about Toy Story. I get it. But this is my own channel. I can talk about, I have the free speech. I can talk about what is on my heart, what I feel like, what I want to say, right? No one's forcing you to be here if you don't like this. But just to say that this event is going to be, no matter how little or how many people end up showing up to it, no matter how well or how poorly it ends up going, I do believe this is meant to happen, that this is a big deal. Someone may even get saved because of it. I apparently someone even got saved because of my mom's service. That's what I was told. So this stuff does impact. This does make a difference. And if it doesn't, none of this is making any sense to you. It's not supposed to. It's not going to make sense. God doesn't make sense to you until you want him to make sense. He doesn't make sense until you start believing it. Then he'll reveal himself to you, and then it will all click. That's how it works. Look up testimonies, Christian testimonies online of, you'll just hear from some of the most wicked, awful people who did some of the worst things, and Jesus did the impossible and radically changed them. And it's like, how in the world are these people so complete 180 of who they used to be? Their heart was made pure. How is that possible? Only God. It's only possible by God. And I unfortunately don't have quite that kind of testimony, right? Because I kept things, I'm very shy. I kept everything to myself. But that doesn't mean I wasn't an awful person. People didn't know who I really was, and I wasn't awful by any means by the world's standards, but by God's standards, I was deserving of hell. But that's the whole point. We all need him. We all need Jesus. But oh my, I could just go on all day. I promise you, I am the shyest person ever, but I can't hardly say a single word to you in person. But if I'm talking through a video and I'm talking about something I'm passionate about, I could always just keep talking. So, well, what has God? I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry but what has God done for me? How have I changed? When I graduated high school, I started my first full-time job just a week after I graduated. And about a year into that job, my skin started getting really bad. Like, it was severely bad. Like, I thought I was gonna die. And it went on for about 8 years, on and off. Just, I don't know how to explain it. I'm still, I don't know how well you can see it, but it's a little red. But the thing is, why it's under control now, well, Jesus. But I'm on Dupixent. I get Dupixent shots every 2 weeks, and that's been keeping it under control. But the thing is, it wasn't until I actually truly put God first in my life that my skin problems went away. Not completely, but I've never had it be severely bad again since. And again, it was so bad. I mean, it's like an autoimmune disease kind of thing. It's hard to explain. But like, I didn't have any like skin hardly on my face. My lip above here, the section, it was like all crusted. It was like solid. Like, I couldn't move my eyelids were so thin. They were oozing slime. My face, I don't want to, get into it, but like, I still have to take good care of it to keep it safe. I'm always living in a fridge. I live, my whole life's in a refrigerator. If you hear those fans on, I have this fan on full blast aimed at me, and I have my air conditioner on as low as it gets, 62 degrees, because I'm really sensitive to heat. And I haven't worked in over, it's so embarrassing to say, but I have not had a job in over a year. But it's so hard to work because my skin is so sensitive, because if I work somewhere and it's, well, not 62 degrees, which is like nowhere is like that really. If it's hot, if they're somewhere with ovens, like making pizzas or something, it's like it would flare up really bad. I don't know. I've posted videos on my TikTok about that. It showed pictures of how bad it was. That didn't even do it justice. It was way worse than that. I know this this video keeps getting think even more and more of a roller coaster as I go on. I'm just kind of venting at this point, I think. But I appreciate you being here for the conversation. Just one-way conversation. Call it a podcast, if you will. A visual podcast, I guess. An audio commentary without much of a movie. But, where am I going with what I was just talking about? I don't know. I gotta stop this video at some point. I'm sure some people or someone watching this is gonna call me or think I'm crazy, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather be called I'd rather be rejected by the world than rejected by God. You know, I've had so many prophetic dreams and even some visions, stuff that I'm not even, I don't think I should even get into here. Like, because if all of that wasn't enough for you guys, if that was crazy enough, like, I don't even think I should even dare get into that stuff. But like, God does prove to you that He's real if you have the faith and belief. Because that's a big misconception. This isn't blind faith. It's really not. This, I'm not believing this because it's some random guess, just hoping that, oh, I hope God's real, I hope all this is real, that I go to heaven, when I die. It's like, no, if I had no evidence, if God didn't show Himself to me in any way, if I had no way of knowing if this was actually real, I wouldn't bother. I really couldn't care less if I didn't know it was true. But there's way too much to go into, people always say, oh, I don't believe in God because there's no evidence. It's like, well, yeah, it doesn't work like that. You don't get the evidence if you don't have the faith. God gives you the evidence. He reveals Himself to you if you want to believe. It's hard to understand. It's hard to wrap your head around that. We're so limited to our human understanding. But God is real. The Bible is literal. What the Bible said has happened. What the Bible says will happen, will happen. It's alive. It's the only living book. There's no other book like it. There's a very good reason why it is the best-selling book of all time, and it's not even close. Harry Potter isn't a living book. And people love to call the Bible a fairy tale, but fairy tales don't have thousands of verified manuscript evidence from thousands of years ago. There's more manuscript evidence of Jesus really walking this earth than any other figure from that time. That is proof. That is literal, physical proof. Literal if you say Jesus didn't exist, you are proving your ignorance, right? Literal atheist scholars will laugh at you for saying, if you say Jesus isn't real, because they know He was a real person. Unfortunately, it's not believing that Jesus was a real person that saves you. It's, is He God? Did He save you from your sins? Did He actually die and rise again on the third day, right? For your sins. Did He do that? That is what saves you if you believe that to be true. And that is proven from all this verified, again, manuscript evidence. Look up Shroud of Turin. Excuse me. Lee Strobel, The Case for Christ. There's a book. There's a movie. Go check those out. This guy, if I understand this right, he hated God. He was so desperate to prove God wasn't real, to prove the Bible was false. And the more he kept searching, the more he kept looking into it, he could not come to he could not deny it. He could not find fault in it. Everything just kept turning around to being, no, that's actually verified. We actually do know that Jesus was on the cross. We actually do know He was in the tomb. We actually do know He rose again. We have verified manuscript, not just from Christians, okay? That's the crazy thing. We have manuscript evidence of Jesus even from unbelievers, from atheists of that time. I don't know if it was like Caesar or whoever it was. I can't think the people at the moment, but look into this. This is great. But like people that didn't even believe that they weren't saved, and even they were saying, oh, this was a thing that happened. There is like ancient drawings of like people mocking Jesus as a donkey, like actual drawings like on a stone or whatever of Jesus on the cross with the face of a donkey. That's a real thing from thousands of years ago. Like, it's amazing. You know, obviously we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have cameras back then, yet somehow the Shroud of Turin, a flash of light pushed itself on cloth in supposedly shows us Jesus' actual face. I don't know if that's true, but it's hard to deny if you look into it. the Shroud of Turin itself, I mean. But, oh my, this is 2 hours long. This is even longer than the trailer reaction I did. Oof. But I definitely thank you so much. If you're still here, I seriously got to end this, because I'm gonna start talking again. Okay, see you later, guys. Thank you so much for checking this video out. What do you got to say about that, Bunny?
Sorry, I didn't hear you. You said yes, right? I thought so.
What?
You know, I am really glad I met you.
Aw. I'm glad I met you too, Mr. Bunny. So, wow, I need some sleep. Wow. I'm terrible at ending videos, if you didn't catch that onto that. It's like, how do you end them? You just stop recording, or do you say, see you later, you're my favorite deputy, God loves you, he didn't come to condemn you, he came to save you. He didn't come here to kill you, to send you to hell. He came here to go to hell for you. He came to die for you. Jesus died for you. He's not here to kill you. That's the thing the world doesn't get. They think, oh, God's cruel. He wants to kill people. It's like, no, he actually died for you. He took your place. That's it. It's that simple. You just gotta accept it by believing it. It's as simple as he could have possibly made it. Okay, I'm really ending. Goodbye. See you later.